Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from the relationship advice subreddit, and it's from Informal Advice 9436, and it says, I, 26 female, want to end a 10-year-long friendship with my best friend, 25 female, over a stick. I need advice on what to do. I, 26 female, have been friends with Abigail, 25 female, for several years. We had met freshman year and we hit it off, but for the rest of high school, she was homeschooled. I met my now fiance, 27 male, also in high school, and eventually introduced his best friend Robert, 26 male, to Abigail. Robert and Abigail started dating, and so we formed a small group and would always hang out together. We all liked to go hiking and often would look at hiking gear together and go on trails together. A couple of weeks ago, Robert got a walking stick. He had placed it in his car and noticed that the car door was open. He drove up to me and asked me to close the door. While driving up to me, I was facing the front of the car and he could not see what was blocking the car door. I just shut it without looking like he asked me to. He started screaming, telling me that his new walking stick was now broken, that I snapped it in half. I started crying and apologizing profusely, telling him I was so sorry that I wasn't paying attention. I just went to close the door. I didn't even see it in there, but that wasn't good enough for him. Later that day, he texted me and asked me to reimburse him. I told him that I could give him a 10, but that was all. He told me that 10 was all it was worth, but I need to give him 50 for the trouble. I was blown away by this and made the mistake of telling him the date of my payday. And when that day arrived, I'd forgotten all about the stick and had taken a nap after school and work. I woke up to countless text messages and multiple group chats of him telling me to pay up and that it was my payday. I then texted him directly and asked for his information, and he decided to tell me that it was okay that I didn't actually have to pay him back. After he made a fool of me in front of all my friends in every group chat that I was in with him, I still paid. Flash forward to yesterday. My fiance, Robert, and Abigail all decided that they want to go hiking on a trail that is more dangerous than what we normally do. I decide to stay home, so the rest of the story will be a mix of what Abigail and my fiance told me. Abigail decided to buy a $100 fancy walking stick and wanted to test it out on the trail. I joked with her before going on the trail that the trail being known for being more intense. It might not be the best idea, but she didn't take my comments seriously and I was just joking too. Hours pass and I get a phone call from my fiance telling me that he was on the way home and Robert is in the back screaming, "You break it, you buy it. You break it, you buy it." Apparently on the trail, Abigail's stick got stuck in a rock, and while the boys kept pushing ahead, she pulled it out and it snapped in order to catch up to them. Abigail says that if my fiance wasn't going so fast that it wouldn't have happened, and blamed him for breaking it. Robert obviously took Abigail's side and for the rest of the hike hounded my fiance for the payment. My fiance and I are both in college, and I, between jobs, do not have $100 to throw away on a high-end walking stick. They both know this, and that night Abigail texted my fiance a screenshot of the walking stick, circled the price and wrote in, "I know money is hard right now, but I need my stick, so I'm going to order it tonight and you can pay me back as soon as you get the chance." Abigail and Robert both have stable jobs and are not in college. I got mad and told them that my fiance would not be paying for something that he didn't break, and Abigail shouldn't even brought the stick on that trail. They were pissed and texted us endlessly, saying that we were in debt to them and that we owe them and it was only right to pay them back. I think what pissed me off the most is that all through the years, every time we went somewhere, I drove and paid for gas. I paid for dinners, I paid for movie tickets and outdoor activities, and they never once paid me back for any of it. I never even thought to ask them to, and here they are yelling at us to pay up and we're being ridiculous. Time and time again, they have both put money before friendship. Do I put this behind me and just pay them? Or do I leave? Man, these ain't friends. Cut them loose. I know you mentioned it's been like a 10-year friendship, and I know that's a lot. I know that's a lot of bonding there, but real friends don't do this kind of shit to each other, publicly shaming each other. Robert's behavior is weird in itself, the aggressive texting, the publicly shaming you, and then like, oh, never mind. And then they were doing the exact same thing with Abigail's stick when she brought that $100 stick. I mean, there was part of me, did you actually see this stick broken, or was she just trying to get another one for Robert at the expense of you? And in some ways, it felt like the initial one, like Robert's stick, was a bit of a setup in the beginning. It sounds like he was driving up to you with his door open, asking you to shut it, and when you did, the stick was in the door and got broken. Felt like, he must have seen that. I can only imagine you were stood in front of the car and the door was wide open, so when you was walking up to it, you couldn't see what was on the other side of the door. That's the way I was kind of picturing it in my head anyway. All feels like a bit of a weird setup, but why? The commenter says the logistics of the situation doesn't make sense. He drove up to her with the door open and asked her to close the door for him. What? 1. Did he throw the walking stick in the back seat with the door already open? Did he know the stick was blocking the door? Why did he not warn her about the stick when asking her to close the door? 2. Is it possible to drive with the door open on new cars? There must be a whole bunch of alarms going off, right? 3. He really asked someone else to close the door for him. What a lazy piece of trash. Get your ass up, walk the all of 5 feet, and close your own damn door. So Opie came in with that information and said, hi, okay, so the trailer has a small little gravel loop that you're technically not supposed to park on, but he did it anyways. Robert and my fiance were talking when he put the stick in, so when he closed the door, it didn't fully shut. He has an older car, but I also don't think he was paying much attention. But when he started driving, the car did start beeping at him that the door wasn't shut. He did the gravel loop to pull out and saw that I was walking towards the car loop when he stopped and asked me to shut it. I do admit I wasn't paying attention, so I just opened the door and reshut it. A bit hard to make sure the door shut, but in doing that, the stick snapped. That's when he started to make a fuss that it had broke. In my defense, he has a lot of tint on his windows and he didn't mention the stick was blocking the door. Another commenter says, not sure if I'm misinterpreting, but did you pay $50 for a $10 stick? For the trouble. Opie says, sorry for the misunderstanding. In short, I did only end up paying the 10. So when he texted me about the payment, I told him that I could give him a 10 right then and there. He said that it really only costed 10, but 50 would be nice for the trouble. Cheeky bastard. Then asked how I knew that it was really only $10. I told him that 10 was all I had till the 20th, my payday. He then said I could keep it till then, that he understood my money struggles. I assumed he was being nice. So on the 20th, when he flipped out in all the group chats, and I texted him, I still only sent him the $10. Now looking back on it, I really do feel like he was expecting the 50, and that was why he said I could wait till I got paid. Next commenter says, 2 nutjobs found each other and formed a personality from hell. Please stop interacting with them. They're so toxic to you and your fiance. Sometimes we meet others who use us. This is what happened to you. Bye bye, and don't let the door hit you. And say this ASAP. I wouldn't mention doors to him if I was you, he will kick off. Commenter says, ugh, guys, this feels like a setup. Hey, I'm just sitting in my car and you come close the door for me. Ugh, you broke my stick in the door, give me money. That's a con, a scam, right? He did it on purpose to make her give him money. Then her friend got a new stick. $100, she says. Then when it's convenient and she needs to catch up, it breaks. This feels like they're both working together to get money out of you both. Not sure why, but that's a lot of convenient situations that need compensation. I'm so glad someone else said that at the same time. I thought I was going a bit Reddity, but it definitely did feel like a setup to me. But a little over 2 years later, Opie came in with an update and said my original post is from over 2 years ago. It has been taken down since by the mods for receiving the max amount of interactions for non-throwaway accounts. However, I think it is still able to be viewed on my profile. Before the update, I would like to clear some things up. As many of you guessed, the situation wasn't truly about sticks. At the time, I was younger and wanted to get the point across without giving explicit details that if Robert and Abigail saw this, they wouldn't immediately know it was about them. I was really talking about fishing rods, however. The situation stood the same. Instead of hiking sticks on a rocky trail, we were fishing on a prone to sinking boat. If you have any additional questions, I'll be happy to clear those up. I'm not scared of them finding this anymore. Now for the update. I'm happy to let you guys know that I dropped those scammers. We never did pay Abigail the money she requested. We didn't break it, so we didn't buy it. Although sometimes I do feel some unexplained guilt towards the situation. Like I said, our friendship was over 10 years long, so it wasn't easy or immediate to drop her from my life, but it was needed. We still follow each other on Instagram, but it's rare we interact. I'm sorry for no explosive situation, but I'm glad you all helped me come to terms with leaving that relationship in the past. My fiance, however, hasn't really gotten rid of Robert. After moving into the real world, Robert followed my fiance everywhere it felt. He applied for the same job, works for the same company, and copies every move my fiance makes. He laughs it off and lets it go, but every now and then, I'm reminded of this situation and I get annoyed all over again. But to give my fiance some credit, we all aren't as close as we once were. I mean, it didn't really matter what the item was in the end, but it certainly felt fishy. Unintended pun, I promise. Might edit that out. It felt very scam-like, but it's still concerning what's going on, that, the fiance can't get rid of Robert and seems to be stalking him in some ways? Copying everything he does? That doesn't feel very resolved. But what do you guys make of this situation? Ooh-wee, let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit and says, am I the arsehole for locking myself in my office when we have company? I, 36 female, took my mother in during the pandemic after some medical issues. I never made her move out after. It works for us. She has her own bedroom and bathroom. We share other spaces and I work from home most of the time, so I can look after her. My stepdad died about a decade ago and she was lonely. It made sense for us. As mentioned, I work from home most of the time. A lot of times I'm in some kind of Teams meeting or call. Yes, even those that could be emails, but that's not important. So I don't really have time for chit chat during office hours. My mum's sister, aka my aunt, tends to drop by unannounced to visit my mum, which I don't really mind, but she has a tendency to step into my office without knocking while I'm working and start talking to me about her neighbours kids who did blah blah blah. I've more than once explained to her that I'm working or I'm on call and I can't really chat right now, but she just keeps talking like nothing happened. Today, she actually announced to my mum she was coming over. I reminded my mum to tell her I'm working and on calls and can't be disturbed, and my mum agreed she would tell her to not bother me. But just to be safe, I locked my office door so she couldn't walk in. Despite my mum telling her, she came upstairs and tried to open the door. When it didn't open, she started knocking and calling out, "Hello, it's me, open up." I didn't respond at first as I was on call with a client, but she kept banging on the door so loudly I ended up having to put the client on hold. I told her without opening the door I was on call and could not talk right now, and my aunt left in a huff. She's now bombarding my mum with texts about how rude I was for locking myself in my office, knowing I was having company. So, am I the arsehole? First commenter says to OP, not the arsehole. You didn't have company, your mother did, and it was while you were working. There's nothing to apologize for. Rai1 says to make it clear that your house is also your workplace. Advise your aunt that she has two choices. The first option is to respect that you're not available and not to be disturbed during your work hours. The second option is that your aunt is not allowed in the house uninvited and your mother is not allowed to invite her in during work hours. And one more comment says not the arsehole. You've explained that you're at work and for her to not disturb you. So the only rude person is your aunt. You closed your door and locked it, but that didn't work. Like a 4-year-old at the bathroom door screaming, "Ma, ma, ma, ma." Would you be rude to put a giant poster on the door? Auntie, in case you have forgotten, do not disturb me, I'm at work. The only other thing to do is tell your mum that Auntie cannot visit during work hours. So OP adds a couple of updates within the same post. They said, update, go to dinner for a few hours, return to Reddit, only to find out this has exploded. First of all, thank you for all your confirmation that this isn't on me. I did not think I was the arsehole, but there's always that hint of doubt where you're like, maybe I should have poked my head out and said hello real quick. But the truth was, it was a busy day today, and I just hadn't had the time. Now for the update. After I finished my workday, I took my mum out for dinner and we discussed the matter. she hadn't responded to any of her sisters, my aunt's texts, because she is fully on my side. I know people are asking why my mum didn't stop her. My mum isn't very mobile anymore, and my aunt simply got up from her seat and took off upstairs despite my mum's warning. We discussed it over dinner, and we agreed that my aunt simply is no longer welcome during office hours, since it's the only way to stop this behaviour. Either she can pick up my mum to go to a coffee shop and talk, come after office hours, or come over on the one day I work in the office. My aunt seems pretty pissy about it, calling their brother, my uncle, to complain also. But he texted me earlier saying he told her how wrong she was, and apparently her husband had also told her she was wrong, so now she's currently stomping her feet at home because everybody is saying she's wrong. Delightful woman she is. Remind me to one day post a story about her Disneyland trip. So OP adds an update to the update and says this is the Cliff Notes version of the Disneyland story. I was hoping OP would do so. She has twin boys, and for their birthday she booked a trip to take them and one of their friends out to Disneyland. The friend ended up cancelling last minute and told me if I paid the friend's share, I could go. Reasonable enough. I figured why not? I was 16 at the time. This story is like 20 years old. I'm European, so this is Disneyland Paris I'm talking about, and I'm not from France, so this is an international trip. This becomes important later. My cousins are maybe 10ish at this point. So anyways, we're in the parks and she has been a menace all trip already, but I'm dealing with it. It's the last day, about 5 hours before we have to take our train back home. International travelling train with customs etc. like a plane would be, only less boarding time. One of my cousins wants to go on the rock and roll roller coaster, the other one doesn't. The line is like 5 minutes or less, so my aunt tells me to go with him and she'll wait at the exit with our bags. So I leave my bag containing my phone, my ID, my money, everything in her care. 10 minutes later, me and my cousin get out of the ride, and she is gone. So I start looking around, cannot find her. After half an hour of waiting, maybe they went to the bathroom or something, still nothing. We go check the bathrooms, neighbouring rides, the works, no aunt. I have no phone on me to call her, and with us having to leave for the train in 4 hours, I get nervous. I'm a 16-year-old with a 10-year-old at my hand and no money, no ID, no phone, nothing. So I decided to go to the Lost Kids department and explain my situation. He ended up calling her through the park's intercom. Another hour goes by. No aunt. I remember my dad's phone number back home, so I used Disney's landline to call him. He tries calling her cell phone. My cell phone. No response whatsoever. At this point I have like an hour or less before the train leaves and I'm in hystericals because I can't board this train without money or ID, let alone with another minor. My cousin at this point, seeing my panic, is crying his eyes out, so I'm also dealing with a scared child. I'm barely an adult myself. My dad eventually tells me it makes no sense for him to drive out to Paris right now, so to go back to our hotel, and he'll pay for another night and he'll come pick us up in the morning. So I take my cousin back to the hotel, explain the situation. The receptionist hears me say my name and says, "Oh sweetheart, I have a note for you." It's a note from my aunt. "Gone to dinner, see you on the train." At this point, I have half an hour to run to the station, hoping we'll still get through the customs where she's supposed to be waiting. I make it with 15 minutes to spare. I'm out of breath and fuming. We end up making it through customs, God only knows how, and managed to get the train literally as the doors close on us. I call my dad, explain the update, and he is also fuming at this point, to which my aunt turns to me and goes, "I don't know why you're so mad. I left a note at the hotel and I brought you something to eat," and hands me a freaking dinner roll. I took my stuff, went to the dining car with my cousin, who she also almost abandoned, and gave him the biggest slice of chocolate cake my budget could buy, and never came back to our seats to talk to her. And that truly explains OP's aunts. That is absolutely wild. 16 left you with another youngster in Paris and just leaves a note at the hotel expecting you to find it somehow. That's absolutely mad. I'd love to know what everyone else in the family seems to think about her, because clearly, she's still on talking terms with everyone else, but if someone done that to my hypothetical child and youngster, I'd be side-eyeing them for the rest of my life. But on the back of this, a couple of comments. Ren Wiz says, "Not the arsehole, but your aunt sure is. The Disneyland story is wild. What an awful person your aunt is. Is and was your nephew okay after being abandoned by his mum? I'm sorry you have to deal with such a horrible family member. Yogu says, holy shit, you're still in contact with her after Disney. She still has her kids after abandoning them in a city with a minor. By the way, fuck the dad. This is exactly the kind of situation where you drop everything and you drive as fast as possible. Your aunt stole all your required belongings and abandoned you and her own child. Why is anyone in your family still in contact after that? But gee whiz, how would you deal with that situation? If I did this to one of my family members' nephews, that the family would kick me out. It's quite that simple. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories. Your love, your support, your time, it always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.